years ago, I discovered the actual blueprint for creating sustainable wealth for myself, not through viral hacks or punishing routines like working a 5 to 9 before your 9 to 5. I am not a morning person, but through implementing tiny sustainable habits that I was able to totally reshape my finances and create wealth for myself in just a few years. There are no flashy tactics. I'm not going to ask you to get up at 4 a.m. or do anything drastic. These are subtle shifts that anyone can adopt for profound results and see the benefits of them compounded when you take on many of these habits at once. In this video, I'm going to share all of the micro habits that transformed both my finances and other areas of my life, and show you how by forming these tiny habits and being consistent, anyone, yes, even you, can dramatically reshape your financial and mental well-being. Let's go. The first tiny habit to begin doing right away is to fill your mind with knowledge first thing in the morning. What I do every single day is, instead of getting up and spending time scrolling on my phone while I'm still in bed or while I'm getting ready for whatever I have to do during the day, I will put on either a podcast, a YouTube video, or sometimes an audio book, which will be on a subject area that I'm interested in learning about. It doesn't have to be about money, but it can be just about a subject that you're really interested in that will help you grow. By doing this first thing in the morning, studies have shown that you are 30% more likely to retain that information, and you're 10 to 20% more likely to understand the information if you listen to things between the hours of 7 and 10 a.m. If you do this on a consistent basis, it is like the equivalent of reading multiple books a week, and there are so many free resources out there these days that it is so easy to just put on a podcast or audiobook while you're making your coffee, while you're getting ready for work, or while you're on your commute if your morning at home is in too much of a rush, and absorb that information before you start your day. You are so much more likely to get ideas for creating wealth for yourself, for getting to where you next want to go in life, that this is my number one tiny habit that I really recommend everyone starts doing, and it's completely free. The next tiny habit for wealth building is to distance yourself from limiting influences. So much about our beliefs about what is possible for us is down to our mindset. There's that iconic quote, "You are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with." This is not an overstatement, it's behavioral science. The talk and the lifestyles that you're exposed to really matter. So make your list now of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Those people have limiting beliefs around money or make excuses for why they are not progressing in life. That thinking really rubs off on you. Do they spend most of their time gossiping or talking about superficial topics? Or are they having conversations around getting ahead, setting goals, and reaching higher? Placing yourself in proximity to wealthy people and high achievers will completely change what you talk about and what you believe is possible for yourself. If within your circle of 5 people you identify someone that is particularly negative influence, I would try and reduce the amount of time that you spend with them in favor of someone that you currently spend less time with that is in a place in their life that you aspire to be in. And if you don't have anyone like this as a friend, consider joining networking events or reaching out to someone that you look up to at work and have a coffee to expose yourself to higher level conversations around life and money. Before the first person ran the 4-minute mile, scientists said it was impossible. After they did it, 3 other people achieved it too within 1 year. It is completely about what you believe is possible for yourself. My next tiny habit for wealth creation is tracking my wins. When you are trying to make big changes in your life, this can feel really daunting, especially if you're working towards a big goal and you've got a long way to go and it feels like you'll never get there. It is so easy to doubt yourself because your goals feel so big, and that doubt can totally kill your progress and demotivate you. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, says that seeing proof of what works really builds your confidence. I am such a big believer in goal setting and the value of this in achieving everything that you want in life. However, when I've had huge obstacles to overcome, like getting out of credit card debt or saving for a huge goal like my house deposit, looking only at the end result of what I had to achieve felt so daunting because it was so big that I thought I would never get there. Studies have shown that people that track their success take 30% more action. So the strategy I followed was to take a notebook and write down my wins no matter how small they were. For example, if I sold some clothes online and put that money towards paying off my debt, I wrote that down as a win. If I was able to save some more money during the month and add it to my house deposit, then I wrote that down. By celebrating every win, I not only kept myself on track, but it was so motivating to know that I was slowly achieving my goals. And it helped me see how much progress I was really making, so I kept going. The next habit to creating wealth is to create more than you consume. The famous book on money, The Millionaire Next Door, showed that wealthy people spend more time creating than consuming. They write, they build, they develop ideas instead of just watching TV or scrolling. Using your free time for creating builds skills that turn into real income. I started my own business that is now my entire job and income by coming home from my corporate job and working on everything for that business, from the website to cold calling clients, instead of watching TV in my evenings. It wasn't built overnight, but using my spare time to create the business meant that I was eventually able to leave my day job to do something that was more meaningful to me. Had I not used my time in that way, I'd probably still be sitting at that desk, bored as anything, and wishing for some way out. Start simple and pick one thing that you're good at. Maybe that's writing tips for your industry or organizing your thoughts about money. Do that for just 15 minutes a day at the same time, and then every Sunday check your week. Did you spend more time creating than you did consuming? In Atomic Habits, he says small actions like this actually change how you see yourself because you go from a watcher to a builder. So why does this habit build wealth? When you create, people really take notice. They'll ask for your help, they'll share your work, or they'll pay you for your time. Research shows that creators earn more over time because they build something valuable. The next tiny habit is to automate your money. The psychology of human behavior is that if we need to do something hard or that makes us uncomfortable, we will put this off in favor of the easy thing 99% of the time. The tasks that we perceive as hard, unpleasant, or overwhelming are so much more likely to be procrastinated. I'm sure that we've all hit snooze on an early gym alarm or put off a DIY task for months that will take us just 15 minutes to do. When it comes to forming good habits around money, it's no different. If we need to think about putting money away into savings or investing over using it right now to spend on something that we want, we are so much less likely to do it. This is why I automate all of my saving and investing. All the finance gurus, including Warren Buffett, say pay yourself first and then spend what is left over. In practice, this is so simple. If you set up a system for it, that means you never need to think about it. When I started doing this is really when I saw my finances change. I set up an investment account called an ISA in the UK, which allows you to invest up to 20k a year tax-free, and I let that investment app direct debit the money out of my account every week and invest it for me. I cannot overstate to you how profound an effect this has had on my life, from saving towards my house deposit to being able to now call myself an investor because it's something that is just a part of my routine. The money that was coming out of my account into the investment app was money that I would have spent anyway on shopping or going out, but instead it was like my account was sneakily saving for me behind my back. And as a result, when I went to spend the money that was in my account, I then mentally adjusted to spend what I had left. Making your savings and investments automatic means that you never need to use willpower or remember to manually transfer your savings away. You just set it once and you forget. Our next tiny habit for wealth building is a nightly gratitude practice. In the book, The Psychology of Money, Morgan Housel says that happy people make better money decisions. Gratitude is something that gets dismissed as woo-woo or feel-good, but neuroscience backs it. Focusing on the positives rewires your neural pathways, and it amplifies what you notice and what you attract, including financial abundance. Every night before I go to bed, I pause for 5 minutes to reflect on what went right today. It might be something nice a client said to me, it might be that I got to the gym, it might be a money win, or it could just be something as simple as a really nice lunch or coffee that I had. This ritual trains your reticular activating system, which is the part of your brain that filters out what information gets to your subconscious, to seek the wins amidst the noise in your life and to help you shift from a scarcity to a possibility mindset. This habit done consistently over time cultivates optimism within you, and that gives you so much confidence to aim for bigger things like negotiating a pay rise or pitching to a new client. Studies also show that grateful people earn more, save better, and give generously, creating an incredibly abundant life for themselves. Try it, you might like it. The next habit is to make an improvement of just 1%. The 1% progress rule is one of my absolute favorite concepts from, again, Atomic Habits. If you haven't read it, you should definitely go out and read that book. 1% changes are a game changer for building wealth without feeling overwhelmed. The core idea is simple, but it's powerful. Instead of trying to make huge changes all at once, which leads to burnout and getting overwhelmed, you get better by just 1%. He uses the maths of compounding to show how this creates exponential results over time. For example, the British cycling team, who were losing in all of their competitions, their coaches decided to improve multiple areas for efficiency by just 1%. From their bike seats to their uniform to new recovery techniques, they looked at so many different areas and just tried to improve them by 1%. That may seem inconsequential, but these changes took them to, within 5 years, completely dominating the Olympic Games and winning 60% of the gold medals in cycling. I apply the 1% rule to my finances as well. I will review my spending and saving habits every month and look where I can make just tiny improvements that will lead to big things once they are compounded over time. Things that I do include increasing my automatic savings debits by 1%, reducing my Uber spend by one less trip a month, paying an extra 1% off my credit card. All of these small changes add up to huge progress over time. The next tiny habit is to set clear money goals. Something that I always say is, if you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there? Now, you may be someone who is really comfortable with where you are at in life. You're comfortable with your job, how much money you earn. You don't really have any specific goals or changes that you want to make in your life. And if that is you, I say good for you. I love that for you. But if you've watched this far in the video or even clicked on this type of video at all, I think it's because you're someone who aspires to be more and who wants more out of your life, and you don't want to stay stuck where you are right now. You want better for yourself, and that's awesome, because so do I. When it comes to money, having just vague goals is not going to give you the drive to achieve them, because there's no emotion attached to it. Just saying, I want to save money or I want to pay down my debt, that's really great, but they don't have any number attached to them, and therefore it is going to be so much harder to work towards something when you don't know exactly what it is that you're aiming for. The more specific you are about your goals, the more likely you are to achieve them. When I decided I wanted to quit my corporate job, but I wanted to buy a property first, I did everything I could within those couple of years to reach my savings goal of a house deposit. So set yourself one specific target, like I want to save $30,000 for a house deposit within the next 3 years. Or maybe you have a smaller goal you want to get first, like a country that you want to travel to and you're going to need £2,000 to take a trip there. That is something that is now measurable and actionable because you have a money amount and a timeline. So now you can break it down into how much do I need per year, how much per month, and now you have something really clear to work towards. This is exactly what I did when I was saving for my house deposit. I set myself a 5-year deadline, and that allowed me to know exactly how much I needed to put away every month to hit my goal and how many extra jobs I had to take on from my side hustle to meet that. What I also did was set my goal as a screensaver on my phone. You can also do this by putting a post-it note next to your bed, so it's the last thing that you see when you go to bed every night. And make sure that you're tracking your goal progress monthly. Have a little check-in with yourself to see if you're on track and hold yourself accountable. The next tiny habit for wealth building is to regularly review your spending. Something that I do 1 day a month without fail is to go over my income and expenses for the month to see what my actual money patterns are. This part is not just about tracking your spending, it's about seeing where you're intentionally spending your money and where tiny habits like too many takeaways, Ubers home, or coffees out are quietly draining your money away. Having this check-in with myself regularly means that I can redirect myself and set myself back on track if my spending has gone way over what I intended or over my income for the month. This way I can also see if my spending is fitting within the 50-30-20 framework, which is 50% essentials, 30% nice to haves, and 20% for saving and investing. At the moment, my non-essentials are through the roof because I just moved into my new house and the amount of furniture and fixes that need doing are really adding up. So I guess a sofa to sit on falls within the nice to have category, or would you call that an essential? Please comment below. Anyway, having this clear picture of my finances also gives me the ability to make my money decisions proactively instead of reactively. The next tiny habit is to create new income streams. Relying on income from only one source is actually really risky. Millionaires on average have 7 different income streams. I inherited quite an entrepreneurial streak from my father, who was always starting some business or another. Whether he knew anything about that business did not seem to deter him in any way from going all in, and he would just learn as he went along. I have had side hustles ranging from making custom clothing to sell on Etsy, to bar work 3 nights a week alongside my corporate job, to starting an online store to sell fake lashes. I've pretty much used every skill I have in some way or another to generate extra income for myself. That even extends to this YouTube channel where I'm using my finance degree and my experience working in finance in the City of London to create this financial education content. If you only have one income stream at the moment from one main job, you can start to brainstorm extra income streams by first writing out what your particular skills are. I truly believe that everyone, including you, has your own unique skills or knowledge area. And now amongst those skills, which are the ones that people will actually pay money for? Do you have a particular expert knowledge in one area that people would pay money for coaching or a consultation on? Or that you could write an ebook about? Do you have a physical skill like gardening or cake baking or assembling flat packs that people would pay you money for? Do you just like talking so much that you could start creating content? There are so many ways to make money these days that are outside of the typical 9-to-5 office job that you can tap into. And even if you increase your income by only 1%, that is a 1% that you never had before that you can put towards your money and life goals. And that brings me to the next habit, which is start messy. I think so many of us get caught up in feeling like everything has to be perfect before we start. Like we have to have a perfect product before we launch, a perfect promo video, a perfect idea. But you know what? There is so much value in just starting, doing what I call launch messy. The reason for that is that the great majority of people wait until the perfect time, which sometimes never comes. You're always constantly evolving in your work, your skills, your life. There will never be a perfect version of you or the business or product that you're trying to make. And do you really want to waste the next 10 years never starting something that you've always wanted to? The other benefit to starting messy is that you get to test what works and what doesn't work before you get too invested into it, whether from a time perspective or from a money perspective. An example of this for me is this YouTube channel. My first video was shit, to be honest. I was so nervous and stiff on camera. I was not engaging at all. I looked and sounded like a robot. And now I look back at that video and I know that if I didn't just start and let myself learn from what I did wrong, I would never have improved. And I'm still a work in progress who refines my process every single time. But I didn't want to let being perfect stop me from doing it anyway. The final tiny habit for wealth is to always keep learning about money. I did my finance degree 20 years ago and I worked in the city for 7 years after that. But when I really started learning about money was when I started reading books on personal finance and when I actually had to apply all of these things that I was learning to my own life, from starting to invest, to buying a house, to getting out of debt. And now I consume finance content every single day in the form of YouTube videos, podcasts, books. There are so many amazing experts out there that I call this the YouTube University, which is amazing because all of this knowledge is free. The great thing about listening to new information rather than reading is that you don't need to stop what you're doing and focus all your attention onto a book. You can just leave it to run in the background while you clean the house or make dinner and absorb all of this amazing knowledge. And then at the end of 30 minutes, you've both learned something and got your task done. I promise you that the more that you incorporate learning as a daily habit in your life, the more ideas you will have, the more focus, the more motivation to sort out your finances and your life, because you just hear all these great ideas out of the mouths of people who have already achieved what you want to. It will help you take those little 1% steps. It will keep you focused and on track to your goals, and it will give you ideas for income streams. And I guarantee that after 1 year of this, that you are going to be the person in your circle of 5 friends who's the most influential and most has your shit together. I believe in you, so start believing in yourself. To quote Warren Buffett, the more you learn, the more you earn. Thank you so much for watching. I am here every single week to give you life-changing advice to help you get on top of your finances. So if you like this video, please do hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next week. Ciao for now.